Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the first formal talks between EU Deputy President of the Commission, the EU Commission that is, Maros Sefcovic, and his new opposite number in the UK government, the third one, Liz Truss. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So first of all, don't be expecting some major breakthrough. This was one of those typical first meetings where each side sets the tone for future talks, but nothing was going to be agreed or disagreed, really. That's not the main thing I'm going to be talking about here. There are a few things I need to discuss, I feel. I mean, first of all, the meeting itself. Like before the meeting, there was a cracking small article in the Express. The headline went, "We will not be seduced. EU slaps down Truss masterstroke hours before talks." Unfortunately, they've removed the article now and replaced it with another one. But it did intrigue me at the time. And I thought, Liz Truss has engineered a masterstroke? Wow, I wonder what it could be. Do you know what it was? Wet yourselves at this. Do you know what it was? Her masterstroke was to invite Sefcovic and his team to her grace and favour mansion in Kent. Now, you know the argument for this new state yacht? It was going to be the royal yacht, but the Queen told Boris Johnson to piss off, so it's going to be a state yacht now. It's never going to be built, but never mind. And it was supposed to be to get great trade deals, you know. And the notion was, no, what we do, right, we go to get these trade deals. We go to the natives, we invite their trade negotiators aboard our luxury yacht, give them a spanking dinner, and that somehow going to get them to behave really unprofessionally and give us anything we ask for and screw over their own country. And people said to that, "Oh, ridiculous. Who's going to buy that?" There was me just thinking that Johnson wanted a posh yacht and came out with any old rubbish to try and justify it. Now I'm wondering if some saps believe it. Because here was the Express trying to suggest that getting EU negotiators to a swanky mansion will somehow persuade them to agree to cancelling the international treaty that took years to agree. And then I thought, silly. But if Sefcovic is warning Truss not to expect the surroundings to help her, then he certainly believed that the Foreign Secretary is actually stupid enough to think that that trick will work for the negotiations. You know, opulent surroundings, nice glass of plonk, oh well, that'll knock 'em bandy. Certainly it would explain why she's taking Tory MPs out to very posh, expensive dinners in order to win their support for the leadership campaign later on. Don't know, maybe the average Tory MP is bowled over by nonsense like this, and there are some who think that more serious people will be as well. But anyway, that was her masterstroke, it seems. Not inviting Sefcovic to McDonald's for talks was her masterstroke. I guess that's where David Frost was going wrong all this time. So anyway, did it work? Did Sefcovic announce that all difficulties had been resolved and there would be no need for checks in the Irish Sea? No. I wonder what happened though. You know, maybe her mansion isn't quite swanky enough. Better get Buckingham Palace next time, perhaps. But as to the talks themselves, it was reported that Truss had several proposals ahead of the talks. Now that would be a first. And I mean that, not being glib. That would be a first, because throughout this entire process, while David Frost was in charge, there was never a single proposal from the UK side. He said he had proposals, but all of his proposals just involved rubbing out bits of the international treaty that he negotiated, that Parliament voted for, that his boss signed into law. So if Truss actually had genuine proposals that are in line with that international treaty, which cannot be changed, even if they weren't entirely satisfactory to the EU, if they were actually genuine proposals, that would represent more than Frost ever managed. But if she does have some genuine proposals, they were not brought up at this first meeting, or certainly not reported to me. The main take home from the talks was two things. First of all, they were cordial. According to both parties, they were nice, cordial talks, and that they agreed to intensify talks. Now, the agreement to intensify talks is a bit pointless. They've said that so many times in the past that the term has lost all meaning. At the end of the day, the current positions are impossible to join on. The EU need to maintain the integrity of their single market. This is absolutely essential for the continued existence of the EU. Someone made a comment on one of my videos recently where they seemed to object to my focus on trade for the EU, that the EU is a peace project. Well, in its original form, the European project was absolutely about peace between nations who, let's be honest, had been at war with one another for centuries. Fully seized of that. I've made the point myself many times. But as I replied, they did not achieve unprecedented peace amongst the major powers of Europe by telling everyone to be excellent to each other. It was by binding them in interdependent trade. Trade benefits are what allows the EU to operate on every level. The single market is crucial. And there is no way to maintain the integrity of the single market without customs and standards borders around it. Theresa May arranged the deal to be that the UK wouldn't diverge from the EU until we could manage the border in line with the requirements of the Good Friday Agreement, because Ireland's always going to be the sticking point. But despite talking a lot of tosh about digital borders, the ERG knew that this would keep us tied to the EU forever. They knew there was no way to manage the border seamlessly. So they allowed Boris Johnson to put that border up in the Irish Sea on the promise that he would bring it down once we'd left the EU. He has yet to do this. Now, why this point is worth labouring is that those in the ERG, as well as Farage's posse, didn't just want the UK to leave the EU. They want the EU itself to be destroyed. They hate the EU because it represents standards and regulation. Workers' rights, environmental protections, quality and safety standards, they hate them all. Despite what they tell us, they also know full well that the EU is not crumbling. The Daily Express seems to have a weekly article about, this is the latest thing that's going to finish the EU off. They've been saying it for years. Hasn't happened, not going to happen. They also know that it derives its strength from the single market. They want the Irish Sea border brought down, not just because of some ideological nonsense concerning, the sovereignty of the UK. They don't give a crap about the UK. They certainly don't give a crap about Northern Ireland or Northern Ireland's place in the UK. They see it as an opportunity to deal damage to the EU. That's all. If we dissolve that border and we control both sides of it, so in theory we can, it may be in breach of international law, but we can. What do the EU do? They can't insist that the border go up inside Ireland because all hell would break loose. They can't just kick the Republic of Ireland out of the single market because that's also unthinkable. The ERG think they'd have them checkmated. They'd be stuck. And with the massive hole in their single market, the whole system would come crashing down like pricking a balloon. And because they understand nothing about trade, they imagine that they can even survive the trade war that will result from such action. Even Boris Johnson knows that this is impossible, which is why he pulled back from triggering Article 16 last November. Though my usual disclaimer here, triggering Article 16 doesn't actually mean scrubbing out bits of the protocol as the media keep claiming. It actually just triggers a month worth of talks and then nothing really. There are some trade and legal experts who I've seen saying they almost want Liz Truss to trigger Article 16 just so that everyone can see how boring it would be. But where this becomes crucial is that, as I've said before, Liz Truss is not focused on dealing with the Northern Ireland Protocol. She is focused on becoming Prime Minister. Since becoming Foreign Secretary, she has spent her time on an endless string of photo opportunities and whining and dining Tory MPs to get their support. She hasn't actually done anything. She just promoted herself. She has specifically positioned herself as the champion of the far right of the party as well. That's where she's making her pitch. She's going to become reliant on the ERG and similarly minded Tory MPs for support. Hence her recent statement that she will accept nothing less than free movement of goods from Britain to Northern Ireland without checks. But this is impossible within the confines of the treaty. There's no way to achieve it. And now that she's made this her policy, and given that she is striking a Faustian pact with the far right of the party, there is no obvious end game for her that doesn't result in a massive trade war if she becomes Prime Minister. I can well believe that she'll try and keep talks chugging along, and you'll all be very cordial, very nice, but I'm sticking to my red lines, until Johnson goes. That'll be her aim. She will be hoping that this happens sooner rather than later, I think, as well, because there's only so long you can keep this chugging along. I don't think she wants to wait for the summer. Put it that way. I think she wants him gone soon. But if she becomes Prime Minister, what then? The ERG, on whose support she will have won her position, they will expect her to do what Johnson would not. And she will have specifically promised them as well. She'll have had to. They will want her to trash the protocol. She can buy herself some time by actually triggering Article 16 and boring us with the month of talks with an uncertain end. But what then? If she breaches the treaty in a serious way, then the EU announced that they will end the trading cooperation agreement. And if British producers think selling to Europe is hard now, wait until they see what a no-deal Brexit looks like, particularly with an EU that is going to apply full economic sanctions, or as many economic sanctions as it thinks it can do in order to resolve the situation with Ireland. I wonder if Brexiteers will still think that the German car industry is going to come to their rescue. But then let's say she doesn't breach the treaty. She's become Prime Minister, she's fully seized to the fact that it's electoral suicide to do that, and she's got the general election in her sights. If she keeps kicking the can down the road, how long will the ERG give her? Does she think she can play them? Does she think she can be clever? You know, that they won't be able to get rid of her as long as she can get the Tory poll ratings back up and keep them there. After all, Boris Johnson's position was safe while he kept the poll ratings up and he wasn't triggering Article 16. Maybe that's what she thinks. Could be interesting. But one thing that won't happen is that Truss is not going to get a final agreement on the protocol that gives her what she has now clearly stated she wants. Because it's impossible. All of Brexit is impossible to deliver. So there is no way that this is being resolved in time for the Stormont election campaign without the Tory party actually imploding, which they probably don't want to do. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.